So let me make sure I am recording this meeting. All right. So quickly, let me go over something with you guys on Brightspace. So I have been getting in a lot of emails, a lot of assignments. You guys know last week, Wednesday at the start of class, I emailed out a checklist. So you guys had an opportunity to see what assignments have been assigned, and you had an opportunity to see what assignments you were missing. So I've been getting in assignments, you know, a little bit day to day. I got a lot in last night, Sunday night. So I'm still in the process of checking those, making sure I update your class records. So bear with me just a little bit in terms of getting you an updated progress report. I know when we talked Wednesday, I let you guys know that I was working on getting a new snapshot of your grade, where you are. Give me just a little bit more time on that. Let's say Wednesday to Thursday, to kind of give you guys a accurate assessment of where you are letter grade wise, okay? The good news is at midterm, everyone was passing. So the overall trajectory with the assignments you guys turned in and with the assignments that we still have to work on, I think we're in a really good place. I'll be honest. I don't want us to get overconfident, but I think we're in a pretty good place. So I want to lay out for you guys today what assignments we have coming down the pipeline. I know I've been kind of saying 2 to 3. We're more at about 3 weeks left in the semester, realistically, especially with where we are with flexible due dates. So I want to give everybody optimal time to get everything in. So let's zero in on a hard 3-week deadline. So we're looking at about 3 more weeks. Okay. So with that in mind, I want to highlight some assignments that we have coming up, major ones being that final CRT. So we'll talk a little bit more about that this week. The final essay, that reflective essay, we'll talk more about that. And the assignments that you guys are still working on completing right now. So let me go ahead and get started. Let me share my screen with you guys because I want us to start first with Brightspace. So bear with me 1 second. All right. Look, I don't know if you guys can pick up on my dog snoring. He is really, really loud. All right, let me share with you guys a couple of updates I've made to Brightspace since we've last.
Hi, Miss Cole.
Hi there. Hey, Marissa. All right, good. So just again, a few things that I have updated on Brightspace since we've last seen each other. So are you guys able to see my screen? It should be.
Yes.
All right, this home page. Okay. I've uploaded a few new things, but I did want to highlight some assignments. I am getting assignments in right now. A lot of you guys are either turning in that language discrimination short essay, or you are turning in the revised version. So most of the assignments I have been getting in are the language discrimination assignments, which so far has been one of my favorite assignments from you guys. I talked last week about how much I've really been learning about you guys, hearing more of your voice in your writing. We haven't talked a lot about that this semester, but every writer has a unique voice or perspective. So with this assignment, I really have been able to see you guys' voice, also pick up on how well you guys are learning and practicing essay structure, that intro with thesis, body paragraph with supporting information or examples, and conclusion. So if you have not turned in a first draft of the language discrimination, get that in to me. I did get yours, Marissa. I have Betsy's. I know Benito, you turned in your revised version. So wherever you guys are with that assignment, some of you are still waiting on feedback. So Marissa, Betsy, I think Jennifer, I don't see her, but I do know some of you are in a holding place where you are waiting on your revisions based on the feedback I give you. So look for that information, if not today, tomorrow. Some of you have already had my feedback and you are now in the process of working on your revisions. I have set up a assignment area for you guys to submit that. So if you've turned it in already, because Benito, I know you have, Paulina has, don't worry about resubmitting it here. If you've emailed your revision to me already, that's fine. If you have not, if you are still waiting to submit, let
Miss
me show
Cole,
you. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna ask you if there's any way that I can see if I submitted the right one.
Okay, that's a good question. Let me jot that down, Marissa, because I can check my emails. Like there's going to be a moment in today's class where it's going to be kind of like a free write brainstorming session. So I can look that up for you. So let me jot this down. You want
Because
to make sure that what you submitted is the right version, right?
yes, the right question and everything.
Okay. So I'll double check my email. Give me just 1 second on that and I'll follow up with you
Okay.
there. Okay. All right. All right. I see you, Benito. Good question. You know, I always like that about you. Let me take a look at it first. So that way, even if you revise again, you kind of have that feedback, to work from. So give me just a moment on yours. I'll take a look at that today too. All right, good. All right. So again, you guys, if you look at my screen, you guys see under assignments, and let me take us out so you can see exactly how I got to the screen. I know it's been a while since we've submitted papers via Brightspace. So just to remind you, just to recap, when submitting your revised language discrimination, and again, this is a 3-paragraph response essay. Some of you have written it 5 essays. Some of you guys were passionate about the topic and you really went in depth in your explanation. Even better. This is simply giving us practice for what we will be doing with the final essay. So whether you have 3 to 5 paragraphs, here is where you will go to submit. Click under assessments, go to assignments, you guys may remember. And here you will find the assignment, revised language short essay. So after you have received your feedback and you have revised, final letter grade will be based on the assignments I get here. So you will take your revised version, submit it here. I will lay out direct instructions on that in case anyone has forgot. But just know this week, that is kind of what you guys need to be working on submitting in terms of paper, this language discrimination. And we'll be putting that to bed. So I know there's a little bit, again, of a backlog with this. Don't worry. As soon as you get my feedback, work on your revisions, submit when you can, okay? There's another assignment I wanted to quickly recap. We talked about this in class Wednesday, but I did not go on to announcements and remind you guys. So I understand why you guys may have forgotten about the citizen illegal assignment on discussion board. I completely forgot to remind you all about that. So look for a reminder announcement about it. But let me just quickly show you guys again where you can find this assignment. So you see under assessments, if you guys go to discussion, there was a little small assignment we had attached to our readings of Gloria Anzaldua's To Live in the Borderland and Jose Olivares, Citizen Illegal. So you guys can see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, good. So you guys see here under assessments, under discussions, you guys will find this assignment. To complete this assignment, really short. It says this assignment is due by Wednesday, 4/22. Don't pay attention to that whenever you guys get this done. Work for this week, but really short. You guys are identifying any quotes, language that you related to or found significant or meaningful from the citizen illegal text, okay? So look at this as maybe a 3 to 4 sentence assignment. I won't even call it a full paragraph, because all you guys are doing with this is snapshot, letting me know what line or quote spoke to you the most, and then let me know what you found meaningful about it. So it could be a quote, and then under that quote could be your explanation of why you selected it or its significance. Okay, so don't forget about this assignment. I'll again put it in announcements, but if you click on the blue topic, you guys see that there? You can complete this assignment by clicking on start a new thread and typing your response here. So, and then making sure you post it there. So don't forget about this. I'll, again, remind you guys on announcements, okay? Another thing to highlight on Brightspace, I just recently uploaded under content the presentation we went over on Wednesday on sentence structure type. So remember when we talked about simple sentences, compound sentences, complex and compound complex? I uploaded that presentation for you guys because we do have a homework assignment attached to that. So let me show you guys really quickly. You see on my screen where my mouse is highlighting sentence types homework. Now, when you guys are clicking on this, let me show you what you'll see. 2 parts. First, on this handout, this is the actual homework. So I'm gonna click on this so you guys can just kind of take a look at what you'll be doing for homework. And it can kind of quickly allow us to review what we learned. But as you guys can see here, before you are asked to answer questions about what type of sentence this is, it gives a quick review of what the presentation we covered taught us. So as you guys can see, we learned about simple sentences, you know, kind of looking at that simple sentence structure, giving you, if you will, the formula as to what a simple sentence looks like, and then it gives you some examples, okay? So here we see that simple subject verb format. We see also compound subject, compound predicate, still expressing a single complete thought. It gives a little bit of information about compound sentences, definition, formula, right? Pointing out how they will include an independent clause. So you guys see how the examples highlight that. Same with complex, definition, formula, as well as example. So let me fast forward a tad. Here's what you guys will be completing for homework, but I did want us to practice a couple together just to kind of, again, quickly review what we've learned. But as you guys can see, let me scroll down a tad bit. All right, so only 8 sentences. You guys will simply identify whether the sentences are simple, complex, compound, or compound complex. So for this, on your own separate sheet of paper, I do not require that you guys write out the sentences. You can simply write number 1, simple. You can write number 2, compound or complex, but make some way of identifying what type of sentence you're looking at. So for number 1, let's quickly go over again, and I'm pausing really quickly. Let's quickly go over again what we learned about the type of sentences. So simple sentence, often referred to as independent clause. It can stand alone. It has a subject, verb, expresses a complete thought, all right? Compound sentence, 2 or more complete ideas, so 2 independent clauses, connected by a conjunction. Normally the coordinating conjunction, fanboys, okay? So compound, independent plus independent, connected with a coordinating conjunction. Complex is a little different formula. It is a dependent, which is our fragment, an incomplete sentence connected to a independent clause. So let's look at an example of that here. After eating lunch at the Cheesecake Factory, comma, Tim went to the gym to exercise. This is a complex sentence because we have our dependent clause characterized by the subordinating conjunction connected to a independent clause. So here we see after eating lunch at the Cheesecake Factory, this is dependent. It cannot stand alone. It does not express a complete thought. But when connected to an independent clause, Tim went to the gym to exercise, we then have the complex sentence structure where we see dependent plus independent, okay? And lastly, compound complex. Compound complex sentence has two independent clauses. So a compound sentence with at least one dependent clause. So an example of that, after the two soccer players lost their game, this is our dependent element. They joined their other teammates for lunch. That is our independent element attached to, and they went to the movies. That's our other independent element. So independent, independent plus dependent gives us compound complex. So I'll allow you guys time to study this on your own, but let's just knock out a couple of these examples just to kind of see how well we picked up on some of these concepts. Okay, so let's do 1 and 2 together, and you guys can finish the rest for homework. Okay, that first one, Vampire Diaries is my favorite show, comma, but I also love True Blood. What type of sentence are we looking at? Is this a simple, complex, compound, or compound complex? What do you guys think?
Compound.
Compound.
I hear compound. I heard compound 2 more times. Do we all agree compound? I think that may be better. Is there anyone who thinks that this is anything other than compound? All right, don't be scared, but I will go ahead and confirm this is a compound sentence. So good. So what gave it away, you guys? What made you identify this as compound? What were some signs?
But.
But. Perfect. That is the coordinating conjunction that is tying together these two complete ideas. Awesome. That's a perfect study tool. So you guys are knowing what to look for in terms of the formula. Good. All right, let's look at 2. The student wiped the whiteboard that was filthy with last week's notes. All right, what do we identify this sentence as?
Complex.
All right, here complex. What else do you guys think? I heard compound. Did I hear compound?
No.
I see you, Nishay. What are you saying?
I'm not sure.
Not sure. Okay, that's okay. I heard complex. Anybody want to agree or disagree with that? All right, so let's take a look. I am agreeing that number 2 is complex. Now, this is a little bit tricky because we don't see any of the normal identifiers, right? Just like we did with number 1, we saw the comma, conjunction. This one, it's a little bit more difficult to identify the dependent clause here, but let me show you guys. We know that complex is independent plus dependent. So let's identify the independent part. Here where it says the student wiped the whiteboard. This is a independent clause, even though it could benefit from more information. But if we look at it as a simple statement, we have a subject, we have a verb, and it expresses a complete thought. So let's take a look at the student wiped the whiteboard as being our independent clause. Now, the dependent component is this second part. That was filthy with last week's note. Well, actually, okay, so that was filthy with last week's note. This can operate as our dependent clause. So you guys can see if it was a sentence, it could not stand on its own. This would be what we would consider a fragment. So it needed to be attached to this independent clause in order for it to express a complete thought. So this, I'm going to confirm, is a complex sentence. However, the Libra in me, look, the person that is always indecisive. Is there anybody who perhaps confused number 2 with a simple sentence? Let me ask that. Anybody perhaps was stuck between complex and simple?
A little bit, yeah.
A little bit. I can see how simple may blur the lines, because another way to read this sentence, the student, that is our subject, wiped, that is our verb, the board that was filthy with last week's notes. This is really an adjective clause that describes the whiteboard. So it could still operate as simple subject, simple predicate. But again, I'm of course, I'm thinking a little bit too critically. This number 2 is a complex sentence. So number 1, we said compound. Number 2, complex. You guys kind of get the idea on what we're doing here. Should we do number 3, or should I leave this to homework?
3.
All right, let's look at 3. I agree. All right, the trendy fashion designer released her new line on Wednesday. What do we think about this? Do we think simple, compound, complex, or compound complex?
Simple.
Yeah,
I heard simple. Can I get somebody to confirm, or?
I agree with simple.
Okay.
Me too.
All right. This is definitely simple. Good, you guys. The trendy fashion designer, it may seem like a long subject, but it is our subject with an adjective that describes our designer. So this is simple subject. Here is our predicate. And of course, this is just our direct object. So this is a simple statement, also known as an independent clause. Okay, good. I don't know. I'm tempted to go into 4, but I'm going to leave it alone. You guys will have 4 and the rest to complete, but make sure you jot it down in your notes. We've already identified number 1 as compound. We identified number 2 as complex, and number 3 as simple. So we have those automatically from our discussion. It'll be up to you guys to get the rest, okay? All right, awesome. Oh, and just to, again, give you guys a little bit of help with this, in addition to the handout that gives you guys information, I also uploaded that presentation, the PowerPoint that we reviewed on Wednesday to help with that. Okay, so you guys see that all here under course content. So I've recently added that. If you came in a little bit late, don't forget about the Citizen Illegal Discussion Board assignment. I'm going to add that to our announcements to give you guys a tad bit of a reminder. All right. I spent a little bit more time there than I wanted to, but another assignment reminder, if you guys have not yet completed that self-assessment, try to get that done if you can. I'm not going to penalize you guys for not completing it, but again, the information is it's more so for me in how I determine what we do with the rest of our time in the class. I really want to look at targeting those areas that you guys may feel like you need a little bit more information on. So I did get some self-assessment surveys. I think Benito, Marissa, I think I may have gotten one from Betsy as well. I think Paulina, Jocelyn. So I did get quite a few, and I made notes on my findings. So let me share with you guys. Let me change my screen really quickly. I'll come back to a few things there, but just to get a better view of you guys. Here's some notes I made on the self-assessment that you guys completed. So based on your findings, you guys were asked, and do you guys all know what I'm talking about when I'm discussing the self-assessment survey? Hello, do you guys all know what I am referring to? Okay,
Yeah.
just make sure. Okay. So with that self-assessment survey, it's taking a look at the class objectives as well as the student learning outcomes. And it's asking students to self-assess. What do you think, or how do you think your understanding of knowledge of this particular concept is. So really good information from you guys. So here is what I walked away with. Lots of 3s and 4s, which was very encouraging. You guys do feel like or feel comfortable with a lot of the information you're getting from the class, but you did point out that you feel like you may need a little bit more practice or work in outlining and organization. Okay, so I'm jotting that down. Another concept that you guys identified is that you maybe gave yourself a 2 in the areas of invention strategies, right? Kind of developing those invention strategies. What helps you to get started with your essay? So I made a note of, you know, more time on generating ideas, free writing, those strategies to help you get started, formulate your ideas to help you write your essay. So I made note of that. You guys also self-assess that you would like a little bit more practice or more study in grammar. So more grammar practice, and that's good. I've worked that into today's class. You guys also identified thesis development, and that's perfect. We'll talk a little bit more about that. Some of you also identified sentence types, you know, your familiarity with sentence types. So we are at the same time working on sentence types. So good, we're getting practice there. I also saw where some of you identified your understanding of the writing process, right? Especially revised essay. So getting strategies to help you revise or improve on your writing. So I made a note. I definitely start that because I know where the breakdown in that may come from. Right when we went to remote learning, you guys were working on revising those first papers and getting the feedback and grade from that. So I've had a hard time sharing electronically feedback, comments, or how I scored your revised papers, but I think that information would help you guys being able to understand what goes into that process, what helps, what I call best practices for you guys to get the most out of that step. So we'll talk more about that, okay? So those are my top 5 areas. Based on what you guys have turned in so far with the self-assessment, that's where we may feel that we may be lagging. So this gives me a clear view of what to focus on with our discussion of the reflective essay. So let me pick up there. Have you guys considered what we laid out on Wednesday as journal entry? I think it was journal entry number 5 or 6. I'm sorry, I may have lost count, but do you guys remember the topic? In what ways have you grown and developed as a writer? I'm sorry, as a reader, writer, and critical thinker throughout the semester? Have we started to consider that?
Yes.
Okay, and if you didn't, that's okay. I know, don't feel hesitant if you haven't. I understand there's kind of been a lot coming down the pipeline, so that's okay. What I do want you guys to keep in mind is that topic, that is your final essay topic. So because that is that final paper that you'll be turning in the next 2 to 3 weeks, I want us to start thinking about it now. And since we know, or at least since we've identified areas where we would like to get a little bit stronger in, I think us working on that final essay will allow us to practice or flex our muscle in these other areas of outlining and organizing, working on invention strategies, as well as kind of thesis development. So let me share my screen with you guys so you can take a look at what we're doing with this. All right, this is a student sample of the reflective essay, but before I go here, before we really go here, I want us to review and recap some things. So hold on, let me stop share really quickly. Let me open up another screen. All right. Bear with me. Okay. So this is a blank document, but again, it gives me an opportunity just to kind of lay out some things for you, much in the same way that I would the whiteboard, right? Okay. First things first, with the reflective essay assignments, and let me just write the topic here for you guys. In what ways, and I'll make this plural. I always want to put that writer first. Reader. All right, so let me ask the question again, and again, not to put anyone on the spot. I just kind of want to know where are we in the process? Have we started contemplating this question?
No.
Okay, that's okay. So let's start thinking about it now, right? Especially where we are considering invention strategies. So in the same way that you guys completed writing in a time session, do you remember the practice CRT assessment where you guys were given a essay prompt that you then had to generate a essay in a time setting? So the process that you guys would go through in this setting, whether you have a week or 2 weeks to write a paper, we can still transfer those skills into a timed class session, if that makes sense. So let's look at what we do anytime we encounter an essay topic, right? What is the first thing we do in taking this from question, let's say, to thesis statement, right? If you guys are given this as a writing assignment, what do we do first? Work on my view here.
You break down the question.
Okay. All right. I like Benito's response. He said, first things first is break down the question, right? This is a complex question. There will not be a simple single response, right? So first thing first is you want to break down the question, but I do want you guys to remember, main goal in any writing assignment is you want to make sure you are answering this question. So we don't want to get sidetracked. We don't want to kind of take this as a topic and then present it in our own way. We want to really deal with the question as it is. So number one tip in taking a simple question into an essay, making sure you respond to the question. So picking up where Benito left off, he said we should break up the question. So it's really asking us 3 questions in one. How did you develop as a reader? How did you develop as a writer? And how did you develop as a critical thinker? So we want to kind of separate those so that we can clearly identify a response, okay? What we're doing right now is taking part in a brainstorming process. We want to really consider the question and then generate our ideas on it. So with you guys kind of just considering this particular question, throw out, if you will, anything that comes to mind individually. In what ways have you grown and developed? So another word for developed is how have you improved? How have you improved or grown as a reader? Throw out some ideas that I can jot down. And I'll give an example of that. One way you can grow and develop as a reader is perhaps now you know that you can question the material, that you read, right? Perhaps you now have improved as a reader because you preview or summarize your reading, right? So think of the things that you've learned, and let's kind of brainstorm together on ways that we've grown as a reader. What ways do you think you guys have grown as a reader? Don't be scared. Like, there is no right or wrong answer here. What do you guys think? Or if you would prefer to throw it to me in chat, use the chat box. I'll just throw out what you guys say. I don't need to have to let the class know who said it. So what are some ideas? Perhaps a better way to consider it is put it in context based on, since it's asked, how have you grown and developed as a reader, writer, and critical thinker throughout the semester, right? So think about where you were when you first came into the class. What are some things you've learned over the time we've been meeting and working together? What are some things you've learned that has helped to make the reading process easier for you? Okay, so think about it that way.
I I I think a way I've grown as a reader is by having an easier time of identifying main points and other things like that as I'm reading.
So can I say identifying main points and supporting details?
Mhm.
Okay. That's awesome. Good. What else?
Maybe
This,
learning how to properly break down the text to better understand.
okay, I like that. Okay, so could that be too then, Nashay? Kind of like knowing, let me see. Oh, okay. Could that be understanding format and structure? What do you think? Is that what helps you to better understand the text when you say, learning how to break it down? Is it learning how to break it down based on the structure, or is it mainly learning how to break it down based on the ideas presented?
The ideas presented.
Okay, I see. All right, so I won't add to that. That's what you meant. Learning how to break down the text to better understand, I'll say, main idea. Okay, good. And again, I think I'm going to still put next to that, that's the reading strategies. Because the way we break it down is we start from beginning, middle, end, the previewing, whether that's annotation, identifying vocabulary. There's kind of those various ways of breakdown. Okay, good. What else? Give me like a couple more just to kind of round this out. I'll put this, I'll just kind of throw this in. Even as an instructor, in teaching students how to annotate, it has helped me. I know I'm not necessarily supposed to be responding to this question as teacher experience, but annotation has helped me to understand how important that step is to kind of get the most out of your reading. So before, I've kind of just done it as a habit, really, not necessarily understanding the rationale or goal of it. So in teaching it, in emphasizing it to my classes, I've kind of learned the importance of annotating in becoming a better reader. So I'll throw that in just to kind of help us add some meat to this bone, right? So we'll leave that there. We'll kind of pause there. I'll let you guys think about it. I know some of us, this is our first time thinking about the question, but what I'm walking us through is what I would like you guys to take yourself through as you start to plan and organize this final paper, okay? So let's think about ways that we've grown and developed as a writer, okay? What is something, a new skill, a new concept or idea that has been presented or that you have learned that has helped you to improve in your writing? What do you guys think?
My punctuation.
Okay. So I'll say in writing, since you said, even though I know I'm not supposed to be correcting, we're just brainstorming, but in punctuation, I just want to point out to you guys, that is a part of proofreading, right? So that when you are proofreading your papers and checking for that correctness, you are aware of punctuation and how it plays to the overall understanding of your writing. Is that a fair assessment, Jocelyn?
I'm sorry, what was that?
I said, so where you say punctuation, right? Just to kind of be a little bit more specific or clear, when you say punctuation, could that too lean more into the significance of proofreading, how you're,
Like to go over it?
yeah, so and two, how perhaps you are aware the importance of punctuation in the um, overall quality in your writing? Or what do you mean when you say punctuation? Just an awareness of it?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll put punctuation awareness. Good. And I'll still add here correction. You are more aware of correction there. Okay, good. What else? With writing.
Better word usage,
Okay.
like not using the same word again and again, or using better words instead of just simple ones.
All right. And you know what else I'll add to this even? College vocabulary. All right, good. I like that. What else? Punctuation awareness. Well, in terms of writing, I'll tell you guys this. Normally, if we were doing the portfolio, let's say that we were still face-to-face and we were carrying on business as usual with the portfolio assessment, your audience, remember we talked about purpose and audience, your audience would really want to see how you have become a better writer. So you really want to highlight anything that has helped you to become a better writer. So with vocabulary, yes. With punctuation, that's awesome as well. But what about thesis? Does anyone feel like learning more about thesis has helped them to have a better understanding on how to write, how it informs your writing? What about paragraph development, learning how the job of the paragraphs, has that helped to improve with writing? So really kind of think about where you may have struggled before, what has helped you to kind of get a little bit more clearer in your understanding, maybe what has helped you to adopt better habits in your writing. What do you guys think? I've heard from a few, but what about those who I haven't heard from yet? What is missing from this list here as to how you guys have grown and developed as a writer? All right, just for the sake of an example, I'll add thesis development. And we'll see what this will look like in a paper. Another way you may have grown and developed as a writer is maybe you struggled at first with what the job of an introduction is. Maybe now you know an introduction is an attention grabber. It operates to present the topic and then give a thesis. That knowledge has helped you to write stronger introductions. Maybe now you know the job of the conclusion is to help you reiterate or summarize your thesis statement, and that has helped you to better conclude or close your essay. So think about it in those terms. What knowledge has helped you to improve? So I'll just throw those out there just for sake of the example. What about critical thinker? Now, a critical thinker is a little bit more than just what you do to help you improve, and critical thinking focuses more on how has your thinking changed. how has your thinking been elevated in order to help you grow and improve, right? How has how we think about reading or writing changed? So what do you guys want to throw out there in terms of how have you grown as a critical thinker? I know that's a little vague, but we'll talk about it. Any ideas on this?
Well, my thing has changed from more of just thinking about like what's I'm reading about the person who wrote it and what the view might be as they're writing it.
Okay. Okay, so I like that. So you're saying then, Benito, how you relate to the text that you're reading has changed, right? Kind of looking for those connections. Look, is that me? Can you guys hear that feedback? Oh, that was you, Benito. I'm sorry about that. Okay. But I see what you're saying. I like that. I like that. Okay. I'm just trying to think of how to word it or phrase it.
Having an open mindset.
Okay. Okay, reading with the open mindset or writing. I'll say reading, writing. I like that. And then based on what you guys have learned about kind of this growth mindset or whatever, even everything from Frank Bruni to Malcolm X, right? All the things we've read, you can apply how you have learned to read and write with an open mindset. Good, I like that. Benito, to boomerang back to what you said, reading, ooh, I'll say with intention. You say seeking out author, mindset, I'll put purpose. See, okay, I like that. What else do you guys think in terms of your critical thinking skills? What else, what has improved, or how have you grown in this area? Who else wanted to add?
Taking other people's perceptions and
Ooh, I like that.
consideration.
I like that. Good. All right. Anything else you guys want to add? All right, for example's sake, this is a good starting place. So early on, Benito let us know anytime you are addressing the question. So as you guys go from prompt question to building an essay, it will start in how you answer that question. Okay, so we broke it up here. It is 3 parts, and the good thing about it being 3 parts is it also helps us to outline or plan the paper. We know with a 5-paragraph essay, we're already kind of breaking down our body paragraphs. Body paragraph 1 will be about how you've improved as a reader. Body paragraph 2 will go into detail about how you've improved as a writer. Body paragraph 3 will talk about improvements or growth in critical thinking. So let me show you guys a sample. A student sample. This is actually a paper that a student turned in last semester, my fall class, in response to this exact question. So I want to show you guys how we go straight from a question, whether we are brainstorming, and what we did right there was an example of brainstorming. Taking a look at the questions and just throwing our ideas out. You guys can see from my sample, I put it in list format. So based on reading, writing, critical thinking, let's list the attributes as to how we've grown and improved, and just kind of keep a record of it. Another way you guys can generate ideas, or what I call invention strategies, things to help us get started. You can answer the question, just a free write. And that's why I set it up as a journal entry. Take that question and just write about it. Write your answer in every way. How do you think you've grown? And in getting all of that out is kind of what I call the purge, where I just get it all out on paper. When I review that, when I go over that, I normally can identify key ideas that will help me build my thesis. So don't underestimate the importance of what it is we just did. That was somewhat of a superficial sample, but it's kind of giving you guys an idea of what you should be doing on your own. Even when you get the final, what I call CRT essay prompt, we should still approach it the exact same way. What is my response to this question? What do I think about it? What are some arching main ideas that keep showing up again and again in my brainstorming of free writing? Let me use that to plan my paper. So let me show you guys what a paper can look like after we've gone through all these steps. Let me share my screen. Okay. All right. Can you guys see the screen? Okay, do you guys see a student sample?
Yes.
All right, I just want to make sure before I go into it. Look, I had a meeting Friday, and I talked the whole time about a document that was not up on the screen. So I'm a little bit paranoid. All right, so you guys see that here. Awesome. Even though we are focusing on the organization of the essay and how you guys take the question and then use it to develop an essay, I want you guys to pay attention to a lot of what's going on here. Look at the formatting. All of this stays the same. This is called MLA formatting. From the upper left corner heading to the title to double space formatting. This is academic essay formatting, okay? So really make sure every time you guys write a paper, avoid a lot of empty space. You guys know how sometimes we'll what is it? Kind of, and I'm just showing this for sample's sake. We'll like give a lot of space here, and then we'll do like a lot of space here, and then like the paper will start at the bottom of the page. Avoid that. Look, I used to do it too. If instructors would say like, give me a 10-page paper, and I would have to try to make one page stretch. But you guys don't have to worry about pages, so don't worry so much about spacing it out like that. Stick to the standard format. Okay, but I digress. Let's take a look at how they responded to the question. All right, so we're going to go on a paragraph by paragraph breakdown. Let me make this a little bit bigger. All right, so this is the final essay that a student of mine wrote last semester, and they are writing from the exact same question. In what ways have you grown and developed as a reader, writer, and critical thinker? So I want you guys to remember what we've learned about essay structure: intro, body, conclusion. I'm not a huge fan on what I call generic outlines, but if we are going to use an outline, the best format to use is intro, body, conclusion. Always think about setting your paper up in those terms: intro, body, conclusion. So let's take a look at this first paragraph. And I am going to have to remove you guys so that I can read it. Okay. As a student whose favorite subject is English, I have improved in my writing in so many ways throughout the whole English 96 course. I always thought that English was just about correcting grammar, learning punctuation, and writing essays. I now see that not only is English about that, but it's also about having an open mind when reading and writing. When I first entered this course, I didn't know how to annotate as well as I do now, along with me not knowing how to properly write an essay or use punctuation correctly in my paragraphs. I always struggled trying to write down my thoughts on paper, along with organizing my thoughts and providing more supporting details in my writing. My biggest weakness was getting out of the habit of writing 5-paragraph essays, okay? So I'm pausing here, first paragraph. You guys kind of see how the student is attempting to set up their thesis. So they're attempting to set up their paper. So since the topic of this paper is how have you grown and developed throughout the semester, the student is kind of giving you a snapshot of, or summary, if you will, of growth throughout the semester. So they take us through, at first I struggled here. At first I always thought English was just grammar and punctuation, but I've learned that it's more. So we kind of see how they are using the narrative style of writing to set up their point, okay? So you guys see, as far as an intro operates, they are kind of giving that attention-grabbing context, right? What you will need in order to understand how they have grown and developed, okay? One thing I wanted to point out here is in their introduction, they did not include a thesis, okay? Normally, I want you to include your thesis in the intro, but I want you guys to kind of see what they did here. It's almost like they did a double intro, but focus more on how they're answering the question. So let's look here. It says, in the beginning of the semester, I was a terrible reader who read books but never paid attention to the meaning of them. The student goes on to say, my professor taught me that in every story, there's always a lesson to be learned, or there's something that you can take in from reading. For example, this semester we read The Need to Read by William Schwabe. This story not only made me have motivation to read more books, it also made me have an open mind to what I'm reading. This story helped me to grow as a reader because now when I read, I just don't read. I take in information and use it in real life scenarios. In this story, Schwabe taught me that when reading, you have to have an open mind about ideas and learn from what you're reading. My peers were very open-minded when discussing this story. They explained that Schwabe's main purpose was to prove that books help readers engage with the world and become a better person along with understanding life itself. After taking in this information, I realized that reading isn't just about reading. It's about how you connect to it, as well as how you can express your ideas to what you read, okay? I'm pausing here because did you guys see subtly what they did? The first body paragraph is about reading, and it's only about reading. So they are taking that organization that we just discussed. First body paragraph is going to focus more so on how the student has grown and developed as a reader, okay? So pausing quickly, we see an overarching theme, right? From the details of this text, we can see laid out that the student is talking about they have grown and improved in reading in that they've learned to make connection and have an open mind to what they're reading. Did you guys notice that in this paragraph? Look, this is just my pause to make sure you're all still with me. Did you guys notice the focus on having an open mind to what the student is reading and connecting to the text? Did we pick up on those main points in this paragraph?
Yeah.
Okay, good. And let me show you how they supported the point here. So the point is, I've learned to connect to my reading and to know I can take things away from my reading. Then they lay out an example. When outlining your response to this question, in what ways have you grown and improved, your body paragraphs need to do the job of explaining, supporting, giving detail and examples that prove how you've grown and developed. So the student said, I've grown by making a connection to the reading and learning to take the most from it. And then they gave an example of this. I did this when we read William Schwabe's The Need to Read. I grew as a reader because I started to take in the information in real life scenarios. So they give examples of this. They go into how the discussion in class helped them to be very open-minded and how the explanations that students gave helped them to understand it a little bit more. So they're not just saying, here is how I've grown and improved. They're giving examples, okay? So we know that's the job of our body paragraph. All right, let's look at the next paragraph. It says, as a writer. So we see they're making the transition from reader to writer. So now they're going into the ways they've grown as a writer. I now look back at all my senior high school essays and realize how much improvement I've made over the past couple of months. The feedback my professor has given me has really helped me improve my writing and has helped me focus more on areas that I lack on. During the first couple of months of this course, I lacked on trying to gather my ideas and writing them on paper. I had the hardest time trying to keep my ideas organized and gathering more important details when writing my essay. During the course, I improved my writing by making sure I had another set of eyes on my paper. either it was from, which I think they meant whether it was from my professor or another student, getting a second opinion has really helped me not to be shy when others read my work. I also improved my essays by making sure when I write my thesis, it has a good point of view and doesn't make the reader second guess what I'm trying to write about. This course has taught me how to organize my thoughts when it comes to writing my paragraph essays and how to use my punctuation correctly. And that shout outs to Jocelyn, because I know she pointed out punctuation, and you see how the student is bringing that in as well. It goes on to say, I appreciate my professor's criticism on my writing because it helped me to grow and improve as a writer. All right, I'm pausing again here. We see the transition from reader to writer, and we see how the student is staying on topic. I'm only discussing how I've grown and improved. So before they talked about ways that they've improved, they laid out things that they struggled with. So they said at first, they struggled with keeping their ideas organized and writing them on paper. Then they go into how they improved. I improved with this by getting an extra set of eyes. So they said whether it was a professor or another student, they learned to get comfortable with letting other people view their work and using that feedback, okay? They then went on to say how the thesis was also a tool that helped them improve their writing because it taught them how to organize their thoughts. So this entire paragraph lays out not only how the student has grown and improved, but it gives examples of it, whether they were talking about the feedback from the professor or whether they were talking about how the thesis helps them to outline their paper, okay? Lastly, and I'll go through this quick, critical thinking. So we see again the transition. We're moving from writing to critical thinking. So that opening sentence, at first, my critical thinking skills were the worst. I lacked so much on trying to get my point across or even to understand someone else's point. Over the course, I have improved in trying to challenge myself into digging deeper on what I read and trying to unravel, which I think they meant unravel, every detail when it comes to reading. I have learned different writing styles and how to make connections to them, along with trying to develop a deeper understanding of what I read. A lot of my class discussions have helped me improve my critical thinking. My professor was really good at trying to get the whole class to dig deeper than what we were reading and trying to make us connect to it. My critical thinking skills has grown over the past few months because I tend to catch myself digging deeper, and I always read and I always tend to ask questions like why and how, or how. Now that my critical thinking has improved, I understand the way I think and how I can set my own way of observing / communicating what I read. So I really like this. I don't know if you guys know anything about audience awareness. Know your audience, right? You know your instructor is going to be reading this. I eat these details up. Look, wink, wink. You guys know these types of things is what I'm looking for. So write, of course, by laying out how you've grown and developed, but be mindful of what your audience is looking for. So here, the student is focusing in only on how they've grown and improved. But they're also laying out examples. So first they lay out kind of how they struggled, and then they go into how they've improved. So discussions, they talked about how class discussions help. They talk about how trying to connect to what they read have helped. And they talk about how asking questions, okay? Conclusion, even though English is my favorite subject, this class has really made me into a better writer. I believe that now that this semester is coming to an end, I can use everything that I learned in my next English class and even in future careers. I learned that it's okay to have your work get criticized, and even better when you can learn from the feedback. I'm confident that I will use everything that I've learned throughout the semester in my everyday writing as well. I am also confident that I will improve much more in my writing throughout the years and become a better writer than what I am now. All right. So as far as student samples go, this is a pretty good sample in one way that here it is showing you guys of what I'm looking for. So you guys see that in your body paragraphs, how you need to really lay out your case. So think about what we've learned about the argument essay, right? What is the purpose of writing an argument? What do you guys remember? What is the purpose of argument? Look, quick review. What do you guys remember?
Can you say it one more time?
Yeah, for argument, what is the purpose of argument? I want to kind of pull it all together, but I need to make sure we're all on the same page with this idea of purpose. What is the purpose of an argument essay?
The purpose of an argument essay is to try to convince others with your side of the argument
Yes.
and making, well, an argument for your side.
Absolutely. Consider this paper an argument. Let's say you are sitting in front of the English department and they're asking, are you ready to go on to the next level of English? Well, okay, prove to me that you have learned or you have gotten what you needed to get out of this class. Treat this paper as though this is your response. I have to convince my audience that I've learned what I need, most of what I need to learn out of this class to go on to the next level. So as you guys see in this sample, the student has laid out a case to persuade and convince someone who may think that they aren't ready, they may not have learned everything they need to learn. This student is laying out their case. I have grown and improved this semester. I am ready for college level English. Here is the way that I've grown and improved. Here are how these skills are going to help me. So look at it in that sense. Purpose. I am attempting to persuade my audience or prove to my audience that I have grown and I've developed throughout the semester. So it's not enough that you just answered the question. Let me take us back to that question. Hold on. So it's not just enough that you guys answer the question, in what ways have I grown and developed, okay? It is also about you proving it. So argument is me making a claim and then supporting that claim with evidence. So you guys saw in that sample essay, the student said, I've grown in this way. Now let me give you examples of how that growth has taken place, okay? So this is one sample, but did you guys find this helpful or useful in terms of ideas of how you'll build your own essay?
Yes.
All right, good. This is your final paper topic. So with us having 2 to 3 weeks out, start thinking about it. Start writing it, start drafting it, start playing with how you want to respond to this question. I would say sooner rather than later. And wink, wink on that. You guys are going to have a lot, your instructors, if you're taking any other classes, they're going to be throwing a lot at you these last few weeks in kind of getting the semester wrapped up. So keep this on your to-do list, top of your to-do list. I have to focus on this. I have to write this. And just to help you guys, for homework, in addition to the sentence types, I want you guys to come to class Wednesday with a response to this question. How could you lay out a thesis statement? We're going to practice. This is only practicing just to get us help with generating or formulating a statement, a thesis statement. But try to lay out a response to this question. Before you lay out your response, let's do some brainstorming, whether we are free writing or just kind of itemizing our responses. But on Wednesday, I want to see a single sentence response to this question. So I have grown and developed as a reader and writer throughout this semester because I'm able to annotate effectively, plan and organize my essay, and make connections while reading, right? Let's say that that is my 3-part response to that question that is helping me to formulate my thesis. So come on Wednesday with a single sentence, if you can. This is the the practice element response to this question, okay? And we'll use Wednesday's class to kind of really break down outlining. So paragraph by paragraph, how you guys can write this essay out on your own. As you guys can see, what I know from language discrimination paper, you guys write better when you can tell your story. So I think that this essay is an easy A, wink, wink, B paper opportunity, because I'm only looking for you to adequately answer the question, but only you can put into the essay, you know, the key points. How have you grown? How have you developed in those areas? So when students are kind of relying on telling their own story, I've noticed you guys do well. So treat it as though, argument, yes, I have to prove that I've learned or grown in these areas, but here is me telling my story over the past 15, 16 weeks. Here is what I've learned. Here's how I've grown. So look at it that way. All right. I know I promised you I'll try to get us out of here in an hour, and I've blown that completely out of the water. Forgive me. But before I get you guys out of here, one last thing. And here it is really quickly. Let me get us out of share. Only because I don't want to make anything that I've completed or thrown out for homework in vain. Do you guys remember when last week I told you guys study in your grammar workbooks the chapter on the commonly misused or confused words? Do you guys remember that?
Yes.
I know I've given you a lot, so you may not have had an opportunity to read. I won't even ask the question, but what I want us to do really quickly, if we can, 15 minutes, wink, wink, is let's quickly go over a quick review of our understanding of commonly confused words, because you guys did identify grammar practices as one on your self-assessment as something you would like a little bit more practice with. And when I read your language discrimination essays, I did notice errors in way of not misspelling, but just misusing words. So commonly confused words is really important in understanding, but also being aware of the variations of how you can misuse a word. A lot of times proofreading is awesome, but when not done appropriately, we depend on spell check, we depend on grammar check, and with commonly confused words, grammar check will not always pick up on these errors. Spell check will not pick up on these errors because it isn't that you spelled the word wrong, it's that you used it wrong. So let's take a quick look at commonly misused words, what they look like in sentences. Let's work on our understanding or definition of them. And that's what you guys reading the grammar workbook was designed to help with. But let's kind of just take a look at this. So this is kind of a commonly confused words Jeopardy, right? And I could break us up into teams. There's only 7 of us. I don't have to. But for the sake of organizing responses, I think I'm going to put us in 2 teams, and it's only 7 of us. So I think I can keep up with this pretty well. Let me see again. Who all do I have? Nishay, Marissa, Jennifer. All right. Just really quickly, 2 teams. You guys try to organize it. I have it on my screen organized so I can see. Nishay, Marissa, Jennifer, Jocelyn. No, I take that back. Benito, Nishay, Marissa, Jennifer. That's my one group. Don't worry, you guys don't have to keep up with it. I will. Nishay, Marissa, Jennifer, Jocelyn. Oh, wait. I think I threw Benito in this as well, didn't I? Benito. That's my group 1. My group 2 is, oh, okay, it's Nina, me. And, okay, so I'll throw Benito over here. All right. All right, so I got us. All right, let me show you guys this. All right, can we see the screen?
Yeah.
All right, awesome. All right, my team 1, that's Nashay, Marissa, Jennifer, Jocelyn. Team 2, Nina, me, Benito. Okay. Team 1, I want you guys to pick a category and pick a number, you know, like a numerical value. So Marissa, pick something for me really quickly from team 1. Category, numerical value for us to get started, please.
Why so serious?
All right, why so serious?
Maybe 300.
Okay. All right. Her dress cost, there should be an S at the end of that S, more than or than mine. What do you guys in team 1, what do we say? Is it then? Her dress costs, and that should be an S at the end of that cost. Her dress costs more than mine or than mine. Which one are we going with?
Damn. A.
With the
The
A.
A-A-N. And
All right, I hear A's in my team 1. And I think I heard one THEN, but for the majority, I think we are picking the AN, okay? Her
Mhm.
dress costs more than mine. Are we in agreement of this?
yes.
All right. That is correct. The correct word you would use here is her dress costs more than mine.
Mhm.
So commonly confused words, then and than, they get confused all the time. And I don't know if it's more of a speed thing, like sometimes when we're typing, just kind of moving through it quickly, but than is used to show comparison. So if we say she makes more money than me, her car or home is better than mine, the term than is always used when we are making comparison. So here we're comparing the cost. Her dress costs more than mine. So than is the proper version. Now let's look at then. Then is incorrect because while than shows comparison, then shows sequence. So we only use then when we're laying out a process. So first I walked in the door, then I put my coat on the coat rack, then I prepared dinner. You know what I mean? Then the THEN shows process, THAN shows comparison. So that is correct. All right, good. Let's go back. All right, yeah, they show us the correct one. All right, let me go back. Sorry. All right, so we're continuing. Good. All right, team 2. That's me, Benito, Nina. All right, what are we picking? Nina, pick something for me. Pick a category and pick a numerical value. And we are trying to beat 300. Keep that in mind.
What team am I on again?
Benito, you're on my team. You're on team 2.
Okay.
Okay, so Nina, are you picking a category? Do I have Nina?
Yeah. Her mic is muted.
Oh, muted. Okay, my bad, my bad. Let me unmute. All right, Nina, my bad. I had you muted. Dear, can you do me a favor and pick a category and a numerical value? All right, that's okay. I'll pick one. I'm a peacock. You've got to let me fly on this one, and I'm picking 400. Oh, okay, so this is pronoun. Okay. Mom gave a ride to Mike and me, or mom gave a ride to Mike and I. Team 2, Benito, Nino. I'm sorry, Nino. My bad, you guys. Benito and Nina. What do we think here? What is the correct version? Is it mom gave a ride to Mike and me? Or mom gave a ride to Mike and I?
I?
I'm leaning towards I. And this does get confusing because we've talked very briefly about subjective pronouns and objective pronouns, right? We learned that one particular type of pronoun will go to the beginning of a sentence, and there is a type of pronoun that goes at the end, our subjective pronouns. Now, normally I is a subjective pronoun. So that is what's kind of has me a little bit hesitant about picking I, but just based on the rules, look, all of the corrections that my mother has made my whole life, I believe it's I. What do you think, Nina? All right, that's okay. Let's check and see. It's me. So I was right, Benito. Subjective and objective pronouns. The rule still applies. Me is always an objective pronoun. It goes at the end of the sentence. I is normally subjective. So it's mom gave a ride to Mike and me. Ooh, I don't like the way that sounds, but that is the correct answer. Okay. So we don't get any points. That's okay. Team 1. All right, let's do about 2 more, you guys. I got 7 minutes. Let's throw this out. All right, team 1, Marissa picked last time. Jennifer, did you want to pick a category and a numerical value?
Anybody want a peanut? 400.
All right. He is a man with principles, or is it principles? Different spelling, different meaning. So he is a man with principles and values. What spelling are we using here, you guys?
Well, I don't know, to be honest.
I know. Okay, that's okay. That's all right. What do you think? Anyone in team 1? What do you guys think? Nashay?
Is it the LES?
Okay, LES. I hear that.
And the second one.
All right, second one. I heard another yay for that. All right, let's see. What do they say here? It is principles, LE. The difference between the two, not only in the spelling, but in the definition. Principles, ALS. This is more so the noun, normally administrator or executor. So you guys know the principal of your grammar school, right? That is what we are referring to when we say principles. This is a noun, is naming a person, right? So principal, whether they are your principal contact, whether the principal of a school, we use the PLA. I'm sorry, I did that wrong. PAL spelling. Principles, this deals with doctrines, whether it's belief systems, mores, values. That's what we're looking at with the LES spelling. So this is right. He is a man with principles, LES, and values. Good. You guys get your 400. Team 2, we have to come with the thunder. All right, team 2, that's us. All right, Benito, pick me out a good category with a large numerical count. Look, we're 700 to 0.
I like your sleeves. They're really big. 500.
Okay. Good. You guys can see your instructor is a little bit competitive. All right, let's look at this. Who's going trick-or-treating? Okay. And we're looking at the play on words of whose and whose. 2 words, they sound exactly the same. Different spelling, different meaning. All right, Benito and Nina, what version are we picking here? Whose, the apostrophe S, or whose? This is our pronouns. What is this? Our interrogative pronoun. Okay, what do you think?
Who's the second one?
The second one, all right? All right, and Nina, I'm not picking you up on mic, but you can put your response in chat. But let's see what the answer is. Who's? Huh. All All right, so it's actually the first one, the who's, which I knew this. Now that I've slowed down to read it. I have a chat. Who is this? First one. Dang, Nina, girl, you were right. I should have got you early. Who's, and here's always the test that I take us through when I encounter apostrophes. Normally, most of your commonly confused words will be those with the apostrophe, because we're going more so on how it sounds and not what it means. So let's say we say who is. So who's here is who is. Who is going trick-or-treating, okay? Versus whose, where we are looking at ownership, right? Whose shoes are those, or whose? What's another sentence meaning for whose? Who's the strongest, right? Oh, but it still feel like it's who is. All right, we'll get more practice with this. I need to pull out more examples on the who's and whose, because I think even my example is getting me a little confusion. All right, team one. Sometimes when I'm down, I am going to use Nina's answer instead of me and Benito's answer. Can I do that, group? Look, are you guys peeping me trying to low-key cheat here? Look, is anyone
It's
peeping?
fine. We still up.
Okay. All right, I'm counting us 500, wink, wink, even though team one, you're still winning, but I can't go out with 0. All right, one more. Team one, take us on out of here. Pick me a category and a numerical value. Nashay, have you picked something yet?
No.
Pick us out something.
Anybody want a peanut for 3?
All right, let's go here. All right, this is a good one. The student council or council consists of students from each grade level. Which word are we using here? Are we using the first, SEL? Or are we using the second version, CIL? The student council.
Second.
I hear second. My team one, what do you guys think? We agree?
Yes.
I hear yes from Jennifer. All right, let's see. What do they have for us? All right, good. Second one. And if you guys, of course, active in the organizations in your high school, you guys have seen student council before, right? So the difference between the two is the CIL version, again, deals with, the organization, the administering of council. So student council, still a noun, but this speaks more to how it functions, right? So more so the administrative end of it, where council, the SEL, this deals more in terms of advice, right? This deals more with the job, let's say, of legal counsel, which their job is to give you advice or recommendations. Or you can think of a counselor, a student counselor, whose job is, again, to advise you. So this one is more organization, administration, where the SEL is more advisement, right? The function of advising or giving counsel. Look, I hate to use the word in the definition, but you guys did well. Second option, 1,000 to 500. Don't worry, team two. We'll have a chance to redeem ourselves. We'll get more practice with this on Wednesday, a little short bit, but let me get you guys out of here. Homework, just to reiterate, oh, snap. Don't forget the Jose Olivares, the discussion board. I will put an announcement with instructions on how to get to that. But if you struggle completing that assignment on Brightspace, maybe you are struggling getting into the discussion board, complete it on email, or you can write it out and take a picture like a lot of you guys have been doing with your homework. I'll accept either. Another thing to keep in mind, if you haven't done the language discrimination short response, that's given me a good idea on your essay writing, thesis development, essay development skills. So I do want to see how you guys do with answering that question and using the 3-paragraph format for development. So send that in. For those of you who have sent it in and are waiting feedback, expect feedback today/tomorrow evening. I've been a little bit behind with what you guys have been submitting this past weekend. So give me a chance to catch up. For revisions, I have put up a place on Brightspace for you guys to submit your revisions. So get those in. As soon as you get those in, I'll work on grading, giving feedback, but top of your list should be your preparing for that final essay on in what ways have you grown and developed as a writer. So additionally, for homework, you guys want to come in on Wednesday with a response to that question, what I call a thesis draft. So I'll lay that out on Brightspace, okay, for you guys. Lastly, oh snap, the sentence type handout. So that is really 2 things, but the other 2 is just a rollover from last week. So I'll recap it on Brightspace. I don't want to hit you over the head with all of this. But did you guys have any questions before we get out of here? Anything at all?
The last essay, they don't have anything to do with the CRT.
Okay, that's a good question. The last essay, it doesn't have anything to do with the CRT. It doesn't, and it doesn't, but it accompanies that assignment. So true, it is separate from the assignment that you, the essay that you guys will be reading and responding to for that multiple choice CRT. It is separate from that, but it still works in connection with the final, shall I call it final assessment. This is an assessment of metacognition. So that you guys reflecting on how you've grown, how you've improved, this is my opportunity to assess that skill. So CRT assesses reading and writing, final reflective assesses metacognition, okay? So yes, it is outside of the CRT, Nishay. Don't want to confuse y'all on that. But in bringing up the final CRT, look in the next coming week. You guys will be introduced to the article that you will be reading and answering comprehension questions on. So we will pick back up on CRT readiness next week. All this week, I'm all about essay development, really getting you guys what you identified in that self-assessment, giving you some tools for invention strategies, free write, brainstorming, and helping with that, okay? So any other questions you guys have? I did actually record this session, so I can add a clip of today's class meeting to Brightspace in case you guys wanted to review any concepts or anything. But other than that, I'll recap everything on Brightspace for you. Just don't forget to kind of go there and check out the information before next Wednesday's class, okay? All right, you know you guys are awesome. If you don't have any questions, then I'll go ahead and dismiss today's class meeting. If you do have any questions, email me or I'll kind of stay back for just a second if you needed to see me after class, okay? All right, my peoples, have a good one. All right, hey, Benito, did you need me?
Yeah, I just want to make sure I wrote all the homework down. There was